arrived in the management day of the fine day. I express my gratitude to Nana Institute of Technology for giving me this opportunity. My topic of presentation will be structuring the manuscript and how exactly we articulate it. Because the fundamental question with all of us is why my manuscript gets rejected and why some manuscript gets accepted. That's what it is all about. We are equipping ourselves so that we can enrich our research knowledge. For the last 5 years, a number of topics have been discussed. Types of research, research design. I will be touching upon some of the core principles of how exactly a research canvas is prepared. So I request all of you to take important precautionary notes which I am going to share with all of you. This precautionary note will certainly help you to get your manuscript accepted, or at least will be sent for a peer review process. Let me tell you very honestly that the editorial review process through which a manuscript goes through, how it happens. When we submit a paper to any journal, it goes to the journal administrator. The journal administrator looks at the plagiarism level, the AI similarity, and then the journal scope, whether it matches with the scope of the journal, and then the journal parameters like length of the words, captions, how many words have been used to prepare the title of the manuscript, and then the referencing style, whether it is APA or it is FDP or it is Chicago or it is Harvard, which referencing style the journal is prescribing. Because every journal does not accept uniform referencing style. Different journals have different referencing style. So before we submit, we should see that which referencing style the journal is looking for. If it is looking for APA, American Psychological Association, and we have prepared with Harvard style, then this is likely to be disrejected. So the journal administrator looks at all these things, and then if all these parameters are satisfied, then it goes to the editor-in-chief. The chief editor will look at the content and will certainly decide whether this particular manuscript will be sent for peer review process or not. So we should keep two things in mind. One is there is something called review and there is something called peer review. When it is a peer review process, that means people who are working in the similar field, if somebody has done some work on casteism, or done some work on domestic violence, or some work on operation culture, then who are the key people working in the similar field? The paper will be sent for review to these people. That's the theoretical peer review. Means people who are familiar with the topic, they are having an expertise to review. And if it is going for a review, either they will get minor revision or major revision or rejection or acceptance. Normally, we never get blind acceptance on the first go. We get a minor revision, we get a major revision, and then we get acceptance. So this is a process. But normally what happens, most of the young scholars, they get designations. Or very time they get major revisions and they are unable to address it, and then finally they meet the deadline, and after the deadline they get a rejection. Then you are not able to comply to the review revisions. So that's how. I will be certainly telling you that what we should do so that we can reduce the probability of test rejection, and number two, we will enhance the probability of minor revisions, not major one. Because when somebody is reading, definitely someone will find a fault in it. That's right. So that part I will be looking through this. And then in the second part, I will be telling you about for referencing. How many of you are using any referencing tool to write your manuscript? Any referencing tool? Which one are you using? Both of them you are using? Zooter. And others? Which one? Which one? You are using Zooter and Ready. Which one is more comfortable? Zooter. So I will tell you how you can use Ready not only as a referencing software but also as a personal library. Mendeley not only, Zooter is not only a referencing tool, it's a personal library related to your research. So that's what I do. So these two are my learning objectives. First, we will look at structuring the research manuscript, in what way we will do it, and number two, we will reference. This two part will be my focus of this 2-hour session. Now, let me ask you a very clear question. The clear question is, how do we understand a theory? There are a lot of theories in management, in economics, in marketing, in finance. Try to understand it. It's very important. How do we understand a theory? What are the core dimensions of a theory? Yes. Fact. Any answer? Any other answer? So always keep in mind that when you start thinking about a research problem, then that research problem, any research problem, can you give an example of research? How many of them are possibly using a complicated or person, or the person not registered here? Pursuing. Any research problem in this single line research problem with a question mark. With a question mark. That is important. We say why and how this will be. The regression analysis. You are used to that. That are not doing. What is the question? For example, let me tell you, why people invest in mutual funds? Why people invest in mutual funds? Is there any single concrete answer to it? Then to find out the answer, what we should do? We should find out, is there any answer available to explain this, which you call review of reputation? The fundamental question is why people invest in mutual funds. It's a question. In order to solve this question, you try to find out the existing answer. Then one of the most convenient answer may be to get a higher return. So that may not be always true. To have a portfolio of investment, that may not be always true. So you will have a number of answers. Now you will find, the moment you go on finding out the investment behavior, you will see lot of theories have been developed to understand this. So, when you are thinking about a research problem, always take a question mark. Then why this happened? For example, why people join the army? What is the motivation? Where do people have auto carry also? Where people join the army? Why people are migrating from one state to another state? You will find theories related to migration like that. So the fundamental questioning is the core principle of any research. First is what is the question? Forget about regression analysis, correlation analysis, conjoint analysis. These are the second layer issue. This is not the first layer issue. The first layer issue you want to know what is the dilemma. Remember in management research, you will have 5 types of research questions to encounter. 5 types of research questions itself. As the word said research regression analysis, that will correspond to which tools will help me to analyze the data or which technique will help me to analyze the data. But that is not a first layer problem. The first layer problem is, for example, dilemma question. What is a dilemma? Management dilemma. D-I-L-E-M-A. We call bundle. What's a dilemma? For example, let me tell you. When you are waiting for your car to be delivered in the workshop, let your car, you are waiting for your car for servicing. And the servicing time is 3 hours. You are sitting there. You are sitting there and after 3 hours your car is not delivered. You have waited for another 1 hour. You have waited for another 1 hour. After 5 hours your car is delivered. And then you find that the necessary repair and maintenance which you have raised have not been addressed. Now, you have asked same question other customers who are also waiting. That do you have similar kind of issue that your car was not delivered on time and it was not properly repaired, it was not properly maintained? Then other people are also saying yes. That means they are also confirming to your problem. Right? Now it is an issue of what? It is an issue of customer satisfaction, right? Now what is the question? Why do customers get dissatisfied in the service station of, let's say, the company Toyota? Now, can you say this is a research question? Can you say this is a research question? Answer is no. Why is it not a research question? Because this is a typical case observed in one particular workshop. Now you move to other workshops in other city. From Bangalore you going to Bhubaneswar. You found the same problem with 5-6 customers. Then you move to Ravagala. Then after moving to 6-7 different workshops, you confirm that Toyota is having customer satisfaction issue so far as its service delivery is concerned. I am using a name, not take it seriously. I'm just exemplifying. Otherwise, Toyota will find it seriously. I'm just saying, it can be always stupid, it can be Tata also. But this X company. Now the X company is having a service delivery issue. Initially I have perceived, but any customer's perception cannot be a research problem. But the moment that perception becomes universal, becomes a research problem, right? Then you have confirmed. So initial perception was a dilemma. This is called dilemma question. But all dilemma questions are not converted into research questions. But certainly this can be converted into contextual case studies. It can lead to consulting, but it cannot lead to research. That's the difference between research and consulting. Consulting is always specific to an institution, but research is universal. That's the difference. I understand. So when there is a dilemma question, you have tried converting into a research question. Then you have to build consensus over your dilemma. What is my dilemma? Is it a dilemma for every one customer? I'm getting that point. Then you have moved from the first ladder to the second ladder. Now move to the first rungs of the ladder to the second rungs of the ladder. That yes, this is a problem, this is a dilemma question. Now crystallized, concretized, and now we are moving to the management research question. What is the management question? Related to customer satisfaction. Because we are not certainly dealing with economics, the mechanical or automobile engineering. That they say our workshop is having these technical difficulties. This is not our job. This is the job of the mechanical engineer or automobile engineer. Our job is to look at customer satisfaction. Therefore, it is a management research question. A management research question means which will lead to organization specific outcomes. For example, many research problems we do investigate without having our prior concern that whether the outcome will help in managerial decision making, organization policy making. Instead, we enter into a topic that won't have some relevance. For example, in management research, we study organizational behavior, and there is chapter for learning. And a particular student in MBA, after MBA, has taken a PhD topic related to learning of school-going children, adoption of online learning of school-going children. Now, do you think it is a management problem? That was. Do you think it is a management or business administration research problem? Absolutely not. You cannot claim that this is an organizational behavior issue. This is about child learning issue. Any child learning issue, adult learning issue. If it is not solving organizational problem, then it is not about management research. The management research means delving into a topic that will lead to solution to institutional or management problem or decision making. Therefore, we look at what is the managerial implication or decision making implication. If it is economics, if it is anthropology, if it is certainly sociology, then we look at it. Economics is also deeply integrated with managerial science, but when it is sociology, we cannot have managerial implication. All the interdisciplinary studies are there, but if it is core domestic violence, how it will have managerial implication. But many a time we see a lot of papers are coming for review. Issues related to family well-being and the implications of management. So we make straight for rejection. That means understanding is not complete. The researcher's understanding is not complete. It will lead to policy issue. But it cannot be having managerial implications. So first is dilemma question. Second one is management question that you have covered today. First is dilemma question. Second one is management question. The third one is the most important. The third one is that the moment you have a management question, it corresponds to which functionality. Marketing, HR, finance, likewise. What kind of operational issue it is addressing. So next comes when operationalization. Operational questions. How many stakeholders do get involved in it? Whether I should ask questions to the customers, the works of mechanics, the management who is dealing with this, who are the key stakeholders involved in it. Operational questions. The moment you are really operationalized, next one is your investigative questions. What we call a questionnaire, yes or no. Means you have to mention appropriately that these are the questions, items you are asking about. You cannot straightforward ask, I am satisfied with this service. You cannot straightforward ask. But you can certainly ask that whether a TV was installed in the waiting room, whether the toilet facility was there at the time when we were waiting, whether the mobile charging facility was there, whether the coffee or tea was served, the incubator facility was there. Did you find adequate cleanliness and sanitation? Did you find repeated phone calls reminding you that your car is in this particular stage of servicing? Have you got mobile insurance? These are the kinds of investigative questions. Because you are being a particular piece and you are investigating deeply into the issue. And after that, the most important question, that is, we call the broad organizational solution specific. That is it leading to any policy related question. So the moment you have a 5 layers questioning, just you think you are going to write something in the research paper. Start with the question in your mind. Give a compelling story and start from there. Any good journalist is fine. Any good journal, at least a rank of A or B journal, B category journal, ABC, they always start with a compelling story, so that it will appeal to the mind of the reader that yes, this is the story, based on that it is moving. it may be in finance, it may be in HR, it may be in marketing, wherever. You start with the story and the problem in your mind. If your problem is concrete, just like I said, what's a theory? A theory always explains a particular situation. You take the help of that theory to understand the situation. Like when you read papers, you find that drawing ideas or drawing insights help. Please concentrate. I think my accent, you understand properly? My action? You understand? There may be a language barrier, there may be accent barrier, but please concentrate. I can understand. See, when you read papers, the research requires actually presence. When you read papers, you might have come across this kind of sentences like drawing inferences or drawing insights from self-identity theory and resource conservation theory. We propose that, or we hypothesize, or we assume. Who assumes? The researcher. Now, the moment these two theories are mentioned in a particular manuscript, what does it indicate? What does it indicate? It indicates the authors have taken up the problem that why people use marker pen. Sorry, Parker. Why people use Parker? You give this topic to a PG dissertation, postgraduate student dissertation. That why people are using Parker pen? Don't you think this is an important research for Parker company? For Parker company, this is an important research. Why people use Parker pens? What motivates people to use Parker? Now, when you ask this question, you correspondingly to self-identity theory. Self-identity theory can better explain my personal preferences of consumption. So, a theory is there for two things: to predict and to explain. So, primarily to explain and secondary to predict. Early 90s, Maslow made some research. You know, Abraham Maslow, even a lead hierarchy theory. Right? What Maslow tried to do? First one, to explain how motivation occurs within human beings. Explainability. And number two, predictability. In future, what things will motivate people? So based on Maslow's theory of need, you see organizations, societies are building concepts that people will be motivated if we give them influence facility. People will be motivated if we address their social need. People will be motivated if we address their safety need. Therefore, you will see many companies are also providing housing facility, insurance facility. Companies are also allowing people to join clubs. They create clubs. Don't you think these all things are deeply rooted in Maslow's understanding? That's how. Similarly, you find a number of theories having word of motivation. Abraham Maslow has done something. Frederick Herzberg has implemented capital model. Clayton Adler has implemented ERP theory. Adam's equity theory. James Adam has given equity principle to explain motivation. Now, you see number of theoretical extensions or modifications have done. So, primarily a theory solves two purposes. First purpose is, what is the first purpose of the theory? To explain. What it explains? It explains a socio-economic technology the problem. Like nowadays you see AI, ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, these are vectors in use. Similarly, corporations are also undergoing a lot of technology transformation. So, theory came called TAM, Human Technology Acceptance Model. Now, why do people use ChatGPT? The moment you get a complete answer to it, this becomes a new theory. So, ask why. That's how the theory solves two purposes. So, whenever we approach writing a manuscript, or we call research canvas, when there is a canvas and we have the researchers drawing some picture on it, right? So when we are articulating the scholarship, something is in their mind and we are writing article, our first thing is getting insights from the theories am trying to synthesize to explain my problem. My problem is, let's say, why students are not coming to class. Let's say absenteeism. Now, is there any theory that can suddenly explain this absenteeism behavior? Right? Understand? You can say no. Have you scanned it? So suddenly a researcher cannot say no, cannot say yes. A researcher always has, we call, semantics problem. Semantics, the science of interpretation, the science of meaning. If I say what is the color of the rose, what is the color of the rose? What is the color of the rose? Okay. But a researcher should see. You should say, I am seeing. Because the researcher cannot say that I have interacted with every eye or every visual sensation which can conscious, which can make a universal notion that the rose is red or rose is white. Therefore, it's called semantics. We cannot make a claim which is universal, and particularly social science research. That's a problem. There's a difference between physical science and social science. The difference between physical science and social science is this only. In physical science, most of the findings are universal. Most of the findings do have the definite boundaries. But in social science, the findings cannot be universal. You cannot say that hello G may differ. Hello G acceleration due to gravity 9.8 meter per second square. That will always remain the same. The property of oxygen will not change even after 1,000 years. The property of hydrogen or all the properties of 180 elements that we will tell you, that will never change. But the property of society and human being will change. The property of institutions will change. The property of organization will change. The property of culture, the property of civilization or language will change. Therefore, the social science research is tough. Because when you conceptualize a problem that is very context specific. The nature of violence in marine life is different from the nature of violence in ocean. Same violence, we are using the same word, but it's different. So primarily a theory explains and a theory predicts. So whenever you are writing any problem, or investigating any problem, first your task is you have to make it a concrete question. The question may be in terms of what, the question may be in terms of when, the question may be in terms of how, the question may be why. But theory is always related to why and how. Theory is always related to why and how. Because when, where and all, these are condition specific things. So therefore, in order to generalize, you should first draw inferences from a particular theory. So now onwards, when you read a paper, and if you find that a particular theoretical insight has been drawn, then first you match whether that theory is really explaining this. If it is not explaining this one, then don't read that literature. Remember when we say good literature, bad literature. It's all about a good literature always stands on the pillars of established theories. If a particular theory has not been established, then researcher will try to establish it. Therefore, first inside is now we can see. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 elements. These 9 elements you can carefully see. These 9 elements are the core elements of manuscript preparation. When you prepare a manuscript, these 9 elements you have to take a checklist. That whether in my manuscript these 9 elements are there or not. If these 9 elements are not there, then suddenly your manuscript is incomplete. First one, each of these elements, I will take clarity on it so that when you draft something, you will have a comfortable flow with the manuscript. First one is an interesting puzzle motivating the research. An interesting puzzle. motivating the research. As a researcher, how do I set my problem? How do I set my problem? Is it the interaction between guide and scholar, or is it the reading of the content? What helps me to crystallize the problem? This is what we call an interesting puzzle. A research is just like a puzzle solving. Have you ever seen a Sudoku or any other kind of puzzle? A research always is like that puzzle. The central puzzle revolves around a number of things. Now, how do I set boundaries that matters? So, what puzzle is motivating me to do the research work for me? So, first set first thing. Post-COVID के बाद, excuse me, straight, you sit straight, so that you can focus. After COVID, we might have observed online payment has increased. Yes, online payment has increased. Just put a question: how and why? To try to find the solution. Why online payment has increased post-COVID? Number of factors will come. Now, you might have something in your mind that post-COVID people are having phobia from cash transaction. Because cash carries a lot of battery, cash carries a lot of infectious element. Or post-COVID, lot of payment tax have come. So now the puzzle is whether COVID kind of scenario, not only COVID, there can be number of other scenarios, such scenarios, whether do they promote digital payment behavior among people? So this can be a research question. What is puzzle? The puzzle is COVID on digital payment revolving around COVID. Now this motivates me whether COVID kind of situation are also positive for the society or they are extremely negative for the society. We also find that there are also positive outcomes of COVID. That through COVID, digital payment behavior has increased. Through COVID, due to COVID, online payment banks have come. So COVID has given a lot of positive outcomes also. So first one is what is that puzzle that gives me enough motivation to delve into a particular research topic. You have studied qualitative research and quantitative research. You all know about it. I won't say. I will say there are two types of research are also there. In the case of the researcher is just like an advocate who is having some propositions in mind and is trying to defend that yes, COVID is increasing the digital payment behavior. The digital payment behavior is a voluntary behavior or the digital payment behavior is a constrained or compelled behavior. Just think, a digital payment behavior is a voluntary behavior or it is a compelled behavior. That COVID is there, so I am paying it. In the absence of some kind of issue, I will pay this thing. But what is the exact answer? Some people will say, I am not compatible with digital. Gas is better, but because of COVID, I don't want to touch. Also, it is English. It is external English. But some people will also say that no, it is a voluntary behavior. Now, the moment you are trying the research, you are trying to do the research that digital payment behavior are voluntary, you are making some advocacy and you are trying to justify it. If your justifications have been accepted by many people, that means you have given a justification which is universally accepted. So therefore, when you are reading something and from that you have taken some assumption that yes, this can be taken further, now two things happen. Either as a lawyer, as an advocate of your own stand, that my stand is this. Like some people say, motivation is physical in nature, need specific. Motivation is need specific. And some people say no, motivation is not need specific. Motivation is higher psychological in nature. It is a process specific. So processual models have been developed. So there are two categories of people now. Some people say if need is fulfilled, motivation will take place. Some people say no. Even in the absence of a need fulfillment, still motivation also occurs. So motivation is need independent, and some people say motivation is need dependent. Now these two categories of people are there. When we teach students motivation, do we teach about like this, the need dependent theory and need independent theory? We never teach, because that doesn't come to our mind. So now onwards we just see, for any theory which has been developed over time, which is solving some problem. Remember, there are two groups of people. One group of people, they are consensus conforming, and other set of people, they are called consensus challenging. So, as a lawyer, whether as an advocate of your own stand, whether you challenge the existing assumption or you conform to it. Most of the time, when you conform the existing notion, we are called applied researchers. We call that basic research and applied research. Most of the time, for example, I said job satisfaction among the employees of Kalam Institute of Technology. I am taking job satisfaction, which is an already established theory. And now I am applying it on some group of people, and I get some inferences. I don't challenge job satisfaction. I don't challenge the basic understanding of job satisfaction. Whatever definition is there, that remains there. I just apply it. 90% research is applied, because it is easy to do. Only 10% research is less than that. They are basic or fundamental. Any fundamental researcher will look at whether the core concept of organization behavior itself is completed or itself is not completed. Try to understand. The core concept of organization, job satisfaction, all the dimensions related to job satisfaction, are these dimensions fully explaining job satisfaction, or still some new dimension need to be added? The moment you are entering into that aspect, for example, I am saying, during 1930s there was no concept of interpret, but there was concept of job satisfaction. Now you are going to work in a company in 1930. You are going to work in a company in 2025, 26. In that company, then in the same company, in 1930 and in 2025, you will find if the same job satisfaction model will apply without one aspect, that is whether the company is having a conducive digital environment. Now job satisfaction model which was developed early 20s won't have the job digital environment model. Yes, all of you will agree. समस्त लोग मुझे को early 20s में operation in early 20s operations there won't be dimension of digitalization, but in 2026 digitalization I am applying the same age-old theory of organization satisfaction, job satisfaction in 2026 without modifying the core elements of job satisfaction. That means my research won't yield appropriate result. That's how, when we are thinking of a questionnaire, or we are thinking of a construct, or we are thinking of any kind of survey instrument, keep it in mind that this survey instrument must have temporality. That is the word for temporality. What's the meaning of temporality? Means is it time relevant? Is it time relevant? Is it validated in the present context? If it is not validated in the present context, that questionnaire won't at all be relevant for the study. Try to understand. So therefore, yes. See, first one I will tell you how you do it. Before we move to the validity questionnaire, validity means what? I am trying to find out the truthfulness. There are two things. One is called validity, the other is called reliability. What is the meaning of it? Can you give an example to understand validity and reliability? So this is validity and this is reliability. Anyone? Validity and reliability. reliability. See, I am giving you an example of validity. Validity means objective. Reliability means emotional. Can I rely on it? All valid things are reliable, but not all reliable things are valid. Always keep in mind. All valid things in this world are reliable, but all reliable things are not valid. Validity means, suppose there is a clock on the wall. For your convenience, you have made a clock, you have set the time 5 minutes faster. Many people do that, or 10 minutes faster. You cannot still make the world to valid, your clock to valid. Is that one clock gives you exact time? That one clock gives you the time faster or ahead of the time. But still you can rely on it. You can rely on it. So that clock is reliable but not valid. That's how. But sir, I have asked the question that whether in my context I have to validate this or before you move to validation. Validation means you have to ask people. You cannot ask anyone people. This is not a vaccine you are developing. You can certainly ask 30 or 50 people. Now before you ask people, why don't you make a theoretical validation? The theoretical validation must be done first. Suppose any construct is there, you validate what construct and its measures, MEX values. You understand the meaning of the construct? What is the meaning of the construct? I am using the word organizational architect, organizational structure. This word becomes a construct. So what is the meaning of construct? What do you mean by construct? When you do research, you often come across this word, right? So what is the difference between construct and theory? First, let us understand what construct is. I told you what theory is, and then I will tell you what is construct. Yes. What do you mean by construct? What is the meaning of construct? Let us always keep in mind. When I see a college, or when I call a university, when I call a school, you all understand the differences. How do you know the differences? You know what is the difference between school, college and university? How do you know? It's a simple question. Have you not experienced it? If I ask this question to the school going guy, the school going child, that guy can answer. But the same question if I ask to a college going student, he will pass it answer because he has not gone to a university. But all of you have gone to school, college and university. Therefore I have asked you. So your answer should be more concrete. Sir, I have experienced the difference, right? So the experience of any good research stands first. When you take a construct for your study, the construct may be organic fashion products. People are using consuming organic fashion products. Construct, when I carefully choosing for my research, always keep it in mind that a construct is a mental configuration of the researcher operationalized in his own context. For example, we human resource management only researchers. Most of our research is very psychological in nature. Let's say one construct is leadership. Leadership I am studying in the context of higher education institution, let's say HEI. So when you say higher education institution leadership, what things will come to mind? A dean, a director, a head of department, a vice chancellor, a chairman of the council. Such words will come to mind. So the construct of leadership in the context of higher education is the entire configuration of the researcher itself. Do you agree? But certainly you cannot claim the way leadership is construed in corporate context. That vice president, the president, the ISA, rural area sales manager, retail sales manager, ASA, those leadership won't happen. Again, the nature will also have. So, but leadership as a concept shall remain universal. Try to understand. So, you have taken a theory to understand leadership. Let's say theory, Down's contingency model or Fiedler's contingency model. Fiedler's contingency model is a generic model. Now you are applying to higher education institution. So the construct of leadership is very much configured in the mind of the researcher, specific to the context. Of someone there is doubt, ask me. Have you got it? If there is doubt, you can ask me 1,000 times. I will make it clear. So when we are going to have our own research of anything, first thing is the theory, the second one is the construct. How you have operationalized it. How you have operationalized the construct. So first one is what is the causal utility of the research. The second one, where we find academic audience and positioning in prior research. Where we find academic audience and positioning the prior research. We have to take a helicopter view of the state of the science. State of the science. Where it exists and in which way it will go and where I do stand. For that purpose, what we have to do? Here, we have to take a systematic review or a state of the art for any research topic. A systematic literature review will help us to do this. The moment you have a complete systematic review of literature using any framework, you can use SP4 SLR, you can use PCM, ADO framework. There are a number of frameworks developed for systematic review of literature. Most common framework is nowadays SP4 SLR. And if you want to go deep, you can also go for PCM, ADO. PCM is the theory, the context, and the methods, and ADO means antecedents, decisions, and outcome. So you present what are the theory, what are the context, what are the methods, then what are the antecedents, decisions, and outcome. ADO. So once you have a PCM and ADO framework completely developed, you will have a compatible position in the research. Therefore, just like I said, which theory and which construct, in the second line, keep it in mind. Suppose you are doing the research. The topic is very simple. The topic is why people are not interested for farming. Why the farming occupation, the youth is not attracted. This is a question. Now you have got some answer. Let's say. The next one is very important. That's the so one. It's called so what? In a manuscript, so what question? And the second one is point of departure. What do you call? Point of departure. What is the meaning of point of departure in research? Point of departure. See, social learning. How do people learn through observation? Social learning. From social learning, we have understood about social intelligence, that animals also imitate. Some people have given that question. Animals also imitate. Now, what is the point of departure? The point of departure is imitation behavior varies from animal to human beings. Because human beings have higher level of control on their life. Yes or no? But animals don't have a higher level of control on their life. The differences of cognition. So social learning is deeply affected by cognition. In case of human beings or Homo sapiens, but it is not that affected by cognition in case of animals. That's the difference. So when social learning theory was developed by Albert Bandura, so he has given a cognitive framework of social learning. So this is called point of departure. Means my understanding on this takes a different stand from the existing notion. This is called point of departure. So any manuscript, when you read, you download from A-star journal, let's say International Journal of Management Review, impact 13.0 and A category. All the manuscript you will study, you will find there is always a point of departure realistic. That the existing stand is this, but our stand is this, and they will justify. Therefore, while the executed manuscript, you always have two things. First one is so far, if something has been solved earlier. So what? Means how the society is being treated out, and the next one is point of departure. Means our arguments, our propositions claim for this not going by existing convention. If this particular point of departure is missing, then always we will get agreed about this. That what is your theoretical position? What we call theoretical position. If there is no theoretical position, then certainly we have not developed it properly. So for a proper theoretical positioning, let me tell you, do not make an abroad questioning when you are collecting data. When you make questionnaires not properly discussed, validated, reliability not assessed, then certainly what will happen, this will lead to major revisions related to questioning. And if you scale, what we call scale, if the scale itself is faulty, then your entire research is faulty. Therefore, please focus on the scale development aspects. If you are not capable of developing a scale, then always use an existing scale. But the existing scale must be suitably modified in your own context. The existing scale must be suitably modified in your own context. Because suppose you are using a stress management scale, stress management, nowadays a lot of stress is happening. Number of researchers have developed scale on stress management. If you understand the meaning of a scale, there are different types of scales. To understand the meaning of a scale, scale means a construct measurement tool. Stress is a construct. Now stress, the number of stress measurement tools are there. Suppose a stress measurement tool was developed in the medical context to measure the stress of process. Can I apply this? I will tell you this. Can I apply to secretariat or to scientific organizations or to research organizations like ICR? Can I apply it? Answer yes or no? Why? Problem is very clear and it should be understood. First one is the scale he wants to gauge. Like we have also encountered this similar problem. For positive psychology, we have a scale by Luthans. Fred Luthans. Fred Luthans is a very pioneering author in OB. So he has developed a positive psychology scale. Now we wanted to get the scale. We wrote two Luthans direct because it is copyrighted. The scale is copyrighted. Just like you get a patent of a new product, similar in social science, if you develop a new scale, you can get copyrighted if you apply. A copyright scale you can only purchase, and if you do not have a research funding, you cannot purchase it. Let's say it is 10,000 or 12,000 or 15,000 rupees. Research tool. Then in that case, what you should do? First of all, you should write to the concerned author that I am doing this research in which I want to deploy your scale in this particular context. And my research is not a funded research. I am doing it for my academic career. Hence, and my institution is not also supporting any funding. Hence, I request you to provide me the scale, and I assure you that I will distribute this scale for common consumption purpose. If the author agrees, the author will send you the scale directly. The most convenient way of getting research materials is to make interaction in research gate. And people who are the key researcher of your field, because a scientist, special interest group, you can follow them in research gate and you can interact with them in research gate. Research gate is just like Facebook for researchers. And if still the author does not provide you, then certainly the author deliberately wants that you should pay for it, because he has made a lot of effort to do it, right? You should pay for it. In that case, if you have taken the items published in other research papers, then you have to suitably modify those items, not the exact words. If you have modified, then no worries. If you have taken the items as such, the master of it will not be fact, because you have taken the items from other papers, not from the same paper. Then nothing will happen, because you have referred to a paper which had used that model, which had used the items. That will happen. But if you are citing, then Bass and Aguilar, that is leadership transformation leadership. That is your, they call it LBD, leadership behavior description question. That is that's a Willow text. So in that case, you can use both of them, you can cite both of them, no worries. But the paper originally from which you have collected the yes. That's all. You can get the items or change the bodies. You can get the items or change the bodies.
Modified version of scale.
Yes.
Is it modified version of scale?
But sir, we cannot write a modified version of the Bass and Aguilar scale. They will ask me to raise that issue that without our permission, why you have modified it? But you can certainly twist it. You can certainly twist it, changing the items, and you will claim that we have collected the items from multiple sources and then we have validated it in our own context. If you are modifying a particular scale, you have to take the permission. That happens. Yes. And that's all. That's what it is. That's what it is. Another issue which not you are going to discuss, but let me share with all of you. Nowadays, data collection is very difficult. Most of the researchers are facing the same problem with the data collection. How do we conveniently collect the data from respondents? We can do physically or we can send the questionnaire to people. Response rate becomes very low. Response rate, people do not have time. See, every day in my email actually I receive 4 to 5 questions. And all questionnaires are so lengthy. Sometimes 60 to 70 questions are there. Because people want to keep the data for at least for another 400 years. So that they will keep on publishing papers. Therefore, nowadays what happens, similar kind of research those who are pursuing, they can share some money and they can take the help of some data collection agencies. Like Amazon is also helping nowadays research. There is something called Amazon NTalk. Amazon NTalk service is there. You can refer to Amazon NTalk website and you can certainly for 100 questionnaire it takes 8,000 rupees. my last observation, they might have increased. Yes. That I don't understand. Amazon has deployed its surveyors even in Burma. Who are the surveyors? You may not be knowing that person may be going to Amazon. Nowadays these are also kind of gig work. Gig work. Means you just get the work online. Amazon has multiple vendors. If the Amazon sitting at United States, yes, that's a question. The same issue we have encountered in our last year's meeting in the university. One scholar claimed that he has got the data to this method from some organization. Then the issue was, is it accepted by scholarly journals? Absolutely yes. I will show you at least 15 papers we have gathered evidences where in the methodology they have clearly mentioned that data was collected using Amazon Network Service. And it is a accepted method of collecting the data. So you can upload the questionnaire, make the net, you will get your data there. Yes. Now you know question. So this is what is. We will have short break.
हाँ सर ठीक है ब्रेक हो जाए
So we will have a 5 minutes of short break, a tea break, and then we will continue with this 9 more elements of answer. made by the authors in the paper. When you develop the habit of reading, then things will be clear in your mind. Now what is happening? I am just saying the list. Therefore, the tendency of fatigue, F-A-T-I-G-E, fatigue, is gradually erupting in the body. Some people also sleep because someone is speaking and other person is listening. The top task is not speaking, the top task is listening. The listening skill is very difficult. And writing and reading, out of these two, reading is difficult. Because when you are writing, you have the option of copy pasting from some sources. But when you are reading, there is no option. You have to only read using your own senses. Using your own senses, you have to read. So when you are reading, all our Panchendriya, 5 indriyas, must remain active. Our eye is for visual sensation. You are going to the text, an image, your eye must cooperate. Similarly, your ear must listen to your voice. What I am reading, that's your auditory sense, visual sense, auditory sense. Then this is called tactual sense, then gustatory, and then olfactory. The 5 senses must help an individual. Because see how knowledge enters into a human body. Knowledge enters into a human body only through these 5 gates. Just like in government we have first gate, second gate, third gate, and all. Similarly, knowledge enters into a human body through 5 gates. Eye is one gate, ear is another gate, skin is another gate, tongue is another gate, and nose is another gate. But don't ask me questions, sir, how the nose helps us to acquire new knowledge. How the nose helps us to acquire new knowledge. Go and ask chemistry, they will say. Scale. Lots of flowers are there. The scale of a flower, a particular flower, let's say champa, is a knowledge for society. That's a note that helps us. Therefore, we have 5 senses. The 5 senses has potassium cyanide KC, potassium cyanide. The test for potassium cyanide has not been confirmed yet because it is so toxic that somebody tried to test it and immediately died. The researcher who developed it immediately died. So the odor, the odor was established, but the test was not established. So in chemistry laboratory, when we discuss about different salts and its preparation, we know sodium chloride, NaCl, the test has been established. But in case of KCl, potassium cyanide, the test was not been confirmed because the researcher himself died. We tested it and he died. So KCl is considered to be the most poisonous, most toxic. So friends, our 5 senses are capable of acquiring new knowledge and providing new insight to the society. So when we are going through a text, it is very important for the researcher to have patience. A text may be of 20 pages, 30 pages, sometimes some academy of management research papers are 50 pages, 60 pages. So if we do not have adequate patience to comprehend a 50-page material, then possibly we have not developed that inner trait to become a good researcher. So that's how first is reading, then comprehension, then from comprehension to understanding, then from understanding to self-conceptualization, then self-conceptualization to research. These things will happen. So first of all, now we have to make more research papers, classify the theories inside it, then understand that download the papers in similarly, not dissimilarly, like he is working on leadership, download papers on leadership, then you will certainly know that which are the
emerging theories that help to explain the leadership theory. That's what is about point number 2. Then next point, clear research question driving the study. As I have mentioned, you can have 2, 3 research questions, you can have 4 research questions, you can have 5 research questions, but take a standard rule. You do not have research questions more than 4 in FDC and more than 2 or 3 in FDP. If you have 10 research questions, then unsolvable, impractical. There are 2, 3 research questions. Clear research question means what? What is the meaning of the clarity of research question? A research question should always have a boundary. Example I am giving you can understand. Somebody is trying to do research with you. Why? The productivity of Japan is greater than India. The productivity of Japan is greater than India. Can this research be done with all feasibility? Where is the problem? The problem is productivity of Japanese people of which sector? You cannot consider that Japanese telecom sector versus Indian higher education sector. That is not possible. So first is which sector? Then I am considering telecom sector of Japan and telecom sector of India. Then again there is a problem. I am considering Japanese telecom operators versus Indian telecom strategists. So at what level? You can say executives, middle level, executives lower level, or executives higher level. You can say that executives of telecom sector higher level, executives of telecom sector higher level in India. You can make a comparison. Again, public sector or private sector. Let's say in Japan there are many public sector and private sector companies. In India there are many public sector and private sector companies. Are you getting my point now? When the moment you are giving a simple question that why Japanese people have more productivity than Indian people, it is not at all a research question because the research question itself is not clear. So to make a proper clarity of the research question, set boundaries. Then the last boundary. So which boundaries I have set? I have set geography boundary, I have set sectoral boundary, I have set organization hierarchy as a boundary. Then another boundary is also there. I am considering Japanese people from 1990 to 2000 and Indian people from 2003 to 2020. Again, the duration post-liberalization or post-colonial period, or post-World War period. So therefore, setting the boundary line, timeline is also another boundary line. I said timeline boundary is called temporality. It's called temporality. So now let us redefine the questions. The same question is now redefined with boundaries properly set. Whether the Japanese executive lower level executives working in telecom sector are more productive than Indian but lower level executives in Indian telecom sector. The question is more refined. Are you getting my point now? Similarly, in all your research, always set boundaries so that there won't be any heterological issue. People have this kind of heterological issues they encounter. All of you know about the types of data? How many types of data are there? What are they? Any other part? What is the nature of data? Nature of data. Nature of data. I am giving an example. You just give me the type of data. The roll number of students. Whatever data it is. Roll number of students. What type of data it is? There is a player playing in football. Chaucy numbers. What type of data? What type of data? My car number. All are numerical data. Friends, these are called nominal. Have a clear understanding. Whenever someone asks how many types of data are there, don't say qualitative, quantitative, primary, secondary. This is related to the source. But always answer from the perspective of the data or characteristic of the data, nature of it. So first is nominal data. Your mobile number is a nominal data. Your mobile number and the madam's mobile number. Can you find out the average mobile number from these two particular mobile numbers? Can I take all the mobile numbers and will add it and will divide it by 30 equal to the average mobile number of the class? It is not possible. So friends, the data on which no statistical operation is possible is called nominal data. Have a parent, no statistical operation, no addition, no subtraction, no multiplication, no range, no interval. This is called nominal data. Then other type of data, ordinal data. Ordinal data means example of ordinal data. Examples of ordinal data. The marks scored by students in a class. Marks scored by students in a class. That becomes an ordinal data. It can only be ordered in an ascending manner or in a descending manner. So what type of statistical operations can be done on ordinal data? Can we have a regression on ordinal data? This is called fundamental understanding. On ordinal data, because it is in order, ascending order or descending order, you can find out the average. You can find out the median. You can find out all central tendency measures of the data. And the data on which central tendency measures are possible can be subjected to statistical inferences. So two types of statistics are there. One is for descriptive, the other one is for inferential. Inferential statistics means it starts with ordinal data. No nominal data can have inferential statistics. Means inferential statistics means hypothesis, regression, association, means correlation. Ordinal data is possible. Then third type of data is interval. Interval data. Data is arranged in appropriate intervals. Example. Roll number 1 to 10 nominal data. I said nominal data. Roll number 1 to 10. That's not interval data. You cannot have a statistical operation on roll numbers. Yes. Temperature scale. That's an interval data. Temperature scale is an interval data. Similarly, you can convert also interval data. For example, I take the age of each of the participants and I can place it. How many are between 25 to 30, 31 to 35, 36 to 40? This becomes an interval data. No, number data cannot make it interval data. Right? This is roll number. The roll number means from 0 to 5, from 6 to 10, such type of interval does not exist. It cannot have. But when we have interval data, as I said, temperature data. But again, we should have a confusion. We should not have a confusion that all types of temperatures are different. Fahrenheit is different. 0 degree Fahrenheit is different from 0 degree Celsius, and 0 degree Celsius is different from 0 degree Reaumur. Reaumur scale, Fahrenheit scale, Celsius scale, and Kelvin scale all are different. Therefore, there is a formula. But we should know that if we have got a thermometer, that thermometer is an interval. That's it. The measurement scale, our children are using, these are interval scales, centimeter scale. So where interval scales can be used when you are developing cohorts. When you are developing cohort, you understand the meaning of a cohort? C-O-H-O-R-T. Cohort means clustering group of people based on a similar character. This is what a cohort. Like you have having customers, you can cluster them based on age, you can cluster them based on income, you can cluster them based on some geographic property. That becomes a cohort. So in that case, you can use an interval. Suppose in a paper you have mentioned that we have clustered group of customers or respondents based on these characteristics, and in the data you have used Likert scale. Then the next review question is how you have clustered without using an interval. Getting my point? So they will ask you submit your questionnaire Excel. So always take precautionary measures. Reviewer will ask because if the reviewer is very sensitive, then no one. And nowadays ChatGPT is also reviewing. Suppose I get a review and I don't have time. I put it in ChatGPT and ask, give me some major revision on this. The ChatGPT gives some major revision. Only 1 week ago, I have submitted a 50-page article and it had given me 75 pages. It is literally possible or impossible for a human being to go carefully and find out 75 pages. It is only possible for that. So now that person has uploaded the paper and my paper length was 32 pages and that we can say that in the page number 43, this is mentioned. So you have to clarify. That's what review ethics. Nowadays, most of the journals are also conducting, editor-in-chiefs are conducting the reviewers workshop. And then they don't do this. And we have, accordingly to that, our manuscript is 32 pages and how to 43 pages some error has occurred. So possibly the reviewer has not gone through it. Or some other papers the reviewer has theoretically inferior in our page. That's what it happens. Nowadays it's also happening. So many times we are not only authors, we are also reviewers. If you get a desk rejection, then what are the possible things to be done? It's a very simple thing. If you get a desk rejection, then revise it, submit it to some other journal. The same journal will accept it. So that's the thing. The desk rejection means you won't get any review remarks. The desk rejection, that's clear. If it is rejected with some revision, rejected with some review remarks, then the same particular journal won't accept it. Unless the editor-in-chief has requested you that if I can resubmit it, you don't accept it. That's the ego problem. It's ego issue. They won't accept once it is rejected. But if it is rejected on that ground, anytime the exam clears, that you are requested to revise it and resubmit. Consider resubmission of it in the same journal. Then in that case, let's go to the next step. So, a arithmetic set of theoretical constructs and relationships among them. I have already discussed what is the construct and how to connect the relationship. Appropriate choice of empirical research setting. As I said, setting about the empirical research setting. That who are my respondents, sample size, everything has to be neatly explained in the manual. Population size is infinite. Population is not you go by here, if your scale is a 30-point scale, 30-point scale, 30 IQ scale, Then I come into my 100, but into 10 will be more. I come into 10, 30 into 10, 300. That's a black hair and all prestige. 80 into 10, 800. Otherwise, what would happen? You won't have proper reliability. That main formula has been derived out of lot of observations. Not blindly they have given. Black hair at all, multivariate analysis, do follow up to please refer. Black hair at all. Multivariate analysis. And another one is your Burman Camera Sprinklers business research center. Multivariate analysis. And the other one is your Coopers and Sprinklers business research center. These two books are Bibles. And if you want to have a statistical knowledge, then please refer to Levin and Rubin. I cannot solve this, but I respect the author and the book. C.R. Kotak is good for a PG level, but core concepts are not in explained. The rigorous research design reads and reports empirical findings. In case of occurrence record, what is happening? Real challenge in analytical research is occurrence formula is the probabilistic approach on sample size distribution. But in management research, you follow the quantitative analysis tools and techniques. They have not recommended to use occurrence formula. That's how in economics we reduce occurrence formula. But in our case, sample size is playing the best. You go by that model. Sample size is fine, but the concern is the nature of the problem of accumulating. For example, I am saying you are what about the topical snowball sampling? You all know snowball sampling. In which case snowball sampling is used when the research study is so sensitive and the source of the respondents are not known. Suppose I want to make research on criminals. I do not know who is the criminal. I have the police who revealed data, and I found he is in jail. Somehow I got a friend. Then I asked him, he gives these and I do that first. So suppose I am doing a research on LGBT, and I am telling you our role is serious. We have tried to understand the general motivation of LGBT. You understand LGBT? Lesbians, bisexuals. These are called what? These are called gender orientation. This is not gender. This is called gender orientation. I may look like a male, but I may behave like a female. That's called gender orientation. LGBTQ. Q is also there. Queer. What does it mean queer? Have you ever seen any queer person in your life? No, but queer means having confused gender identity. Means I do not know whether I am male or female. That's not confusion. Sometimes I behave like male, sometimes I behave like female. Their population is 3% of the world global population. Now we wanted to know that LGBTQ's career motivation. What they want to become in their life. Who will give us the data? People who are standing beside the road, in the living hours. Still I asked them, why are you doing from university? But interacting with those people is witnessed by the investor. Why is sometimes talking this? This is social stigma. Because they are all stigmatized community in the eyes of us, but truly not. If I really discuss with a third gender, but the problem is one human is talking to another human, but they view different. Then I discuss with my co-researcher. In this case, what should I do? Because some instances I was discussing some of my colleagues were going on the road. Then next day they asked me, what are you doing here? Because the intention is different, perception is different. So this is intention perception mismatch. In that case, how will we approach? Where I will let the already ignore responsibility. Are you getting my point? So all the time that we only ignore formula. Because see, this is the research problem I am sharing with you. So what we need in that is data collection process. We have meticulously discussed finally when to do it. They have their communities. Discussed with some of their leaders. Then they say, आप कितना लोग से मेरे पास बहुत समय आप आइए उन लोगों का भी कॉन्फ्रेंस है they also have conferences, they also have political meetings, and to your outer understanding, they also have mobile applications, specific mobile apps for LGBT use. Then we have created our tech program, become friends with them. Then we have asked them that what are your problems? When I myself become an LGBT person, then they are accepting me. Then we have got real data. And now we have already submitted data. And in the methodology we have mentioned this one. This is called participant observation method through mobile application. But we have not revealed our identity to them. The moment I reveal our identity, you are a professor. You are professor to the so friends, when we learn this, we have to implement at all into 10. I will provide questions. So we had some 20 questions only. So we collected data from 200 people. Then we have submitted them. There are number of individuals. I will give you the reference. See, all of you, please take my email ID. I am also there in LinkedIn. Any such kind of research dilemma if you are having, related to question information, related to data collection, related to questionnaire designing, related to scale development, please put us an email. We will get back to you. We may not respond to telephone calls, but we will definitely get back to you. These are the papers we have done. So we also have a lot of problems. We also ask you that please help us. So research is a community where we have to help each other. And we have to stand with it. So this is a interesting research, experience I said before. Yes, we can. No problem. I got it. Items are coming up. Second, big question. Second, items is very difficult as a part of respondents to it. In that case, you have to pay 700. But in your case, you are taking for formula level. The difficult case there, the degree of homogeneity is high. The respondents profile. I understand. Because in your case, the homogeneity is too high. When the homogeneity is higher, so the 300 becomes homogeneity. But you get different from somebody said 384. Who is? Someone said, that's right, who is a target? Who is target? The target is a business guy, right? So who is he? You have to get the proper citation for it. In research, whatever you write, you must see that who has said it. Who has said it, whether the person is credible or not. The person is credible or not. If something I say, don't accept it. Cross verify with established papers. Then you write. And then find out whether it's specified boundary condition and limitation. So many research papers at the end it is mentioned about limitation. Instead of limitation, we are using this word called boundary condition. What is the boundary condition? Because the same boundary condition may not work in other countries. Therefore, it's a boundary condition. Just like salary. Salary is a term. It's a motivating factor or it's a maintenance factor. Salary is a maintenance factor or it's a motivating factor. In American context, research has done it's a maintenance factor. But in Indian context, it becomes a motivating factor. So, Frederick Ortberg's theory, which says that salary is a hygiene factor or maintaining factor, is not true in Indian context. Therefore, boundary condition. Suppose in Indian context, you have said salary is a maintenance factor, your conclusion is absolutely wrong. People don't accept it. Therefore, contextual validation is important. So, findings you are not going to validate in the Indian context. If you are going to validate particular finding in the Indian context, that is called a theoretical extension or theoretical modification. So that theoretical modification itself. But these core principles, of course, core principles will always remain unchanged or unaltered. But it is core principle of one God. No, that is not core principle of critical. Those who are from OB or psychology background, they may understand. For others, this is by meaning of principle. For Bhattacharya, the core principle is motivation is affected by the context and the content of the job. Motivation is affected by the content and the context of the job. That core principle you cannot change. That motivation is independent of context and content. The moment you say motivation is independent of content and context, that is called a challenge to Bhattacharya. But inside the story, the job content, salary is the job context. If salary becomes a job context, maybe in America or maybe in India, it will always become a job context. But the degree of impact on motivation will vary. You getting my point? Degree of impact will vary. But the findings if you take, the salary becomes a high impact. I don't stay good. That's not. The core principle will always remain. The beginner principle. Now you can see here, this 9, when we develop a manuscript, these 9 boxes we just check. In terms of what you know, visualize. In the middle, what is mentioned? In the middle. What is there? The puzzle. What is the question? Why do people invest in mutual fund? Why customer dissatisfaction is increased? Why absenteeism rate is increasing in the classroom? This is a puzzle. You are going to solve it. So what is the puzzle? If the puzzle is not clear in mind, that means the path will not be clear. We should know now where we will lead to, what is the destination. Then in the curricular region you can see here, there are color coding, 4 types of color coding are there, 4 types of color coding. You can see audience and prior research. See there are questions mentioned here. I will leave the PPT here. When you are writing the paper, at the end you check the paper against these 9 boxes. If all the 9 boxes have been properly answered, then only you submit the paper. Or else do not submit. See, first one is the puzzle. Means what broad research question does this research address? The research question should be explicitly mentioned. Just about the puzzle and below the puzzle. You can see. First one is the research questions. What specific question does the research answer? Why is it essential to answer? Just we see the rationale of the study. Always this should be mentioned in the introduction part. any introduction pattern of paper must answer the broad research question and the specific question does your research answer why it is essential. If this is not there in the introduction, then the entire flow is meaningless. First is this. Then you can see in the left side that is review of literature, we call audience and prior research. What has happened in the last 10 years related to the digital spending behavior? What has happened in the last 10 years? Normally it takes 10 years or 1 decade. Never forget to take insights from the recently published literature, because that becomes as a new solution. That please incorporate some of the recently published papers. That is important. And which sources you should refer when you are referring to some existing literature. Google Scholar most convenient, but Google Scholar is the basic. So be specific in your literature. When you are selecting, please create a corpus of literature, CORPS, corpus of literature to your study, which have been published in some reputable journals. The reputable journals. When you say all English journals, let's say you find there are 175 papers in English journals. But will you refer all 175? Yes, that government has to say that I will only follow up to D category journals. So all C left, all English journal left, right? This is what is your robustness. What English is robustness? Audience and prior research. There are also few kind of questions like you can see which audience will find your research interesting and relevant. For whom you are writing? That's important. For whom I am writing? Number 2, how does prior research address deposit? Is the audience composed of those who have done the prior research or is a different audience? For whom I am writing? Are they into my research or they are not? Then you see, research question and audience and prior research are having same color code. Just go to the right side. Theoretical constructs and relationships, and here boundary conditions and limitations and complications are having similar color code. You can see theoretical constructs and relationships in your study. What are the theoretical constructs you are using? As I said, stress, leadership, these are all constructs. And relationship. 2-3 constructs are there in your study. What is the relationship? Whether the relationship is linear or the relationship is moderating or the relationship is mediating. That also we have to see. Have you seen these words, moderation and mediation? Please understand the meaning of it. What is the meaning of mediation and what is the meaning of moderation? Mediation means the relationship strengthening. Moderation means relationship weakening. Our relationship gets strengthened in his presence, in the mediator. Our relationship gets weakened in the moderator. So we have to see whether the impact is a moderating impact or the impact is a mediating impact. Many a time we also see mediating moderation. The same construct becomes a mediator in one condition, the same construct becomes a moderator in other condition. That also we have to see. And then boundary conditions and limitations. How broadly applicable are the findings and in what conditions might they not hold? What are the main limitations of the study and how can future research address them? In final contribution, how do clinical findings change how we think about the world? If all this, and in the other side we will find research techniques, research design and analysis. We find in what social settings the research conducted, that gives social setting or real values. So clarity, who should be my respondent? Age profile, demographic profile, everything should be clearly mentioned. Otherwise, there will be what will happen, you know, friends? Response bias. Because response error will happen. Then comes discuss design and analysis. How do you use to answer the questions? How do you analyze them? Like I have said, the regression, one analysis tool, there can be other analysis tools. So there are four parts. One first part, the beginning of the study, that the audience and prior research and research question. Second part, the theoretical framework. Third part, the clinical methodology. And the fourth part, the content and scope of the research conclusion. See, this particular canvas which I am showing you, this is prepared not by me. This is prepared as a reference I have already mentioned in the bottom. This is what with an editorial I have collected it from Academy of Management Journal. This editorial was published in the year 2024. It's recently published. Means all academic editors, they have made one convention that in all our papers we must see these 9 core elements must present. Then it will be considered like good review. Otherwise, it will get out to it. And concern is here. Why Academy of Management I am telling you? Because Academy of Management is journals in fact is key. So Academy of Management should rate us. What are the boundary conditions? What are the theoretical construction relations? Once you are having the clarity of this, then your paper will never be there. But do not ask ChatGPT that fit your manuscript with these 9 metrics. You have written something and then you are asking ChatGPT that fit my manuscript. It will say to the 9 boxes. Then you will never have the manuscript fit with 9 boxes. Don't ask ChatGPT like this. Then the person can see all these things I have already discussed. Don't need to go for it. Framing of the research study. Also add what it is to really knowledge of the methodology. This is the research questions. In the research question, please understand what is the independent variable, what is the independent variable. Theoretical construct and relations. What are the key constructs in your theoretical framework? For example, coordinates, entity, property, conditions, actions have been constructed, been conceptualized before. How do the key constructs relate to each other? See, one of the paper under the major reason, we have asked, the reviewer have asked a very complex question. For example, we have given closed constructs, like psychological success and then subjective career success. What is psychological success? The other one is subjective career success. Objective career success. All are success, but all are different. So, the reviewer has asked construct clarification theory. That if you are saying objective career success is this, I accept, but give me an example. That this is subjective career success, this is psychological success, and this is objective career success. Because in some of it there is mentioned that objective career success can be alternatively used as psychological success. Means they are synonymous, but actually they are not. Our proposition is they are not. Then the person has said, reviewer has said, he was a construct clarification technique. So similarly, you can make a homework when you are writing a paper. But what are my constructs and how do I understand it? So that I can also make others understand about the construct. So make a construct clarification technique also. This is the construct, example is this. And in order to understand this construct, these are the ideas. Like how do key constructs relate to each other? Like hypothesis, propositions, patterns, etc. Why should we expect this relationship between construct and mechanisms? So once you have these theoretical construct and relations, these are methodological issues. Because the mechanisms, when you can have a model to describe that you have your conceptual framework. In the paper, you have a conceptual framework. You can put the conceptual framework to the literature review section itself. Because at the end of the literature review section, based on the gap, you can prepare a conceptual framework. In some of the papers, you also see people provide conceptual framework introduction. Without review, how can you profile of such a problem? It's not possible. It's not possible. In some of the cases, people are also suitably capturing literature review, like Hanuman had made some Mandavardhan mountain because he could not identify the pixel letter. It is called surveying the first. Because you want to find out the pixel letter. You want to find out the pixel letter, so you want to survey the first. That's also alternatively being written nowadays. Instead of writing review of literature, people are writing surveying the first. It is, we call it a kind of giving an aesthetic sense to the answer. These are setting, not social setting, but whether it is occupational, industry, group, individual, rehabilitation, define this research setting more appropriate for the study. Design and analysis, I already told you how do you process the data for quantitative research, how do you measure the construct. How do you analyze the data? What is your selected mode of analysis? That is deductive or adaptive. When we are making a simple writing, this is not deductive, not adaptive. This is a qualitative research. See, one part purely generation, the other part purely testing. Most of the research we do is purely testing, not purely generation. The testing is purely context. Qualitative research helps us in purely generation. Qualitative research cannot test it. Quantitative research can test it, it can generate it, but mostly it is testing. Qualitative research always generates it. Qualitative research cannot test it. You understand the meaning of generating and testing it? What is the difference between qualitative research and quantitative research? Qualitative research is exploration. Qualitative research is exploration. What people think. Why people think. Quantitative research is validation. You are validating the thought process. So all research which have been developed over time, they start with a qualitative research. Once the theory is established, then the validation was done through quantitative. So theory generation, theory testing is quantitative, generation is qualitative. So what is the selected mode of inferences? Whether it is deductive, or adaptive. For quantitative research, what estimation model do you use, and then how do you evaluate the robustness and trustworthiness of your conclusion? If the conclusion is something, how do you evaluate the robustness and the trustworthiness? Why someone will trust this particular finding? The justification should be given. That these are the arguments in favor of our conclusion. And these are findings, correlation, association, co-occurrence, sequences, similarity, differences, thematic, consistency, or other evidence to be observed empirically. What are the consistencies across the study, cases or settings, and then for quantitative research, how do you insert the result to the statistical and practical significance. Statistical and practical significance. Statistical significance is with the help of figures. The p-value is this one indicating this. Practical significance, industries are applying this because of its profitability impact or because of its satisfaction. That's the practical. Then again, contributions from the contribution perspective, how it helps, how the conclusion helps managers, employees, stakeholders, policymakers, but be careful that in which article you should mention managerial implication and in which article you should refer social or economic or policy implication. Then comes boundary condition. Where it is applicable, where it is not applicable. How it is limited by the context. So how we can go to later on? It is possible that your observations are influenced by particular features of your research setting, for example, demographic features. Experiment, the organization of relational structure. So what are the biases that may possibly enter into this study that becomes a limitation? So instead of writing limitation, you should write boundary. That this is the boundary condition. Sometimes the boundary condition becomes case, sometimes the boundary condition becomes the acceptable set of itself. So others are confusion find that what are the methodologies that shortcomings, how can you research the input development, what other factors might be relevant to understanding the research procedure. See, we have to be honest when we are presenting them. You have found that beautiful reference, inference, but that inference is having some boundary condition. Do not have to fear that because of this my paper will be good. No, that's not the case. Because of this your paper will likely be accepted because you have been very fair and honest. If you say that this is applicable only in the case of Odisha, because Odisha is having these characteristics, but still Odisha is having 4 crore population. So genuinely if you have done something in case of economics, mathematics, sociology, which is going to benefit 4 crore population, that's also a good research. So if we say that no, it is only context on the context of Odisha and the context of Barambu, why should I relate to an international journal? That's not the case. The journal is international because it wants to highlight a study internationally. It wants to showcase a case to an international audience, international reviewers, to international institutions. So not necessarily to reject because it doesn't have an international opinion. That's not the case. So small cases, small case studies are also getting published in very good journals. Small case studies. Case studies on MSMEs are also getting published. Depends on how we take up the opinion factor. Means by reading this case study, some people will be motivated to engage in this particular profession. So you will have different kinds of benefit to be rendered to people. That's what we know about this. Now, can I take 10 minutes time to show you about referencing how you can use 20 or should we stop it to some discussion if you have questions? Either if you are having lessons to cooperate, I will show you how you work with Menti as a platform. Otherwise, you can take some discussion. You want to cooperate? So those who do not have the computers, please take steps how you do it, writing papers with the help of printing. So, suppose we go for a systematic literature in SLR, in which there is scopus data we have required and we have also required web of science. Our total literature purpose is say 250. And in that case, what should we do? In that case, we have to first merge it with the help of R. After merging, we will check the redundancy. The duplication will be there. The same journal is there in scopus, the same journal is there in web science. So we have to go for redundancy. After redundancy, suppose we have got 170 papers. Should we take all those 170 papers? That's the case. Now, you go for the Prisma framework. Now in the Prisma framework, there is page 2030 and clearly mentioned. For your general knowledge, do you know the video literature concept itself originated from which discipline? The review of literature is very much helpful, not in management, not in economics, not in anthropology, not in it is a concept oriented in medicine. Because the medical science people, when they do research, it is immensely helpful. Because they have to go through what are the past incidences related to this disease. That is the health sector. So the medical science people only develop this prisma Brahma. If you see who developed prisma Brahma, that is the medical science research. Then we have adopted it. In prisma Brahma, what happens? We said principle of exclusion and inclusion. The principle of exclusion and inclusion. You have all types of people journals. Now you set a standard that we will consider journals having 20 plus citations. We set a citation limit so that you have got impactful journals. Or you will take only journals having A star, A, B. All C have gone. If you reduce it like this, then another thing is, in Scopus itself, you set this domain. In the left side, you will find domain. Engineering, management, psychology, and all. You take only business, management, accounting domain. Then your papers will be written. And you can also check. In the Scopus itself, you do not say articles, you say documents. You only consider articles. And because you are reviewing, you also consider empirical articles. You should also remove the review articles. Because in the Scopus website, the reviews are also. So you are writing a review. You should not consider another review in it because you won't find PCM and review in the review. And please find out whether already PCM and review have been there or not. If they are already been there, you have to establish the fact that why another PCM and review member is review warranted in the present context. I didn't read it. First of all, that is a big mistake. Because they are very huge analysis. For many times, diplomatic reviews are misinterpreted as systematic reviews. Some papers are also being published in that. I will not advise you to do that. Because diplomatic analysis involves two things. One is called network analysis, the other one is called science mapping exercise. If you are integrating systematic review with diplomatic review, then for all of you I am suggesting, memoir-based review cannot be accommodated in that paper. That paper length will be 15,000 words. And no journal will accommodate 15,000 words. Therefore, if you are publishing, look for either a diplomatic review or a systematic review or memoir-based study. Memoir-based. Memoir-based review is best. Either you choose ECA review or based memoir and normally follow. This ECA review, or you go for SP4 SLR, the most simplified version. SP4 SLR, systematic procedure for and scientific SLR for review printed. You can SP4 SLR convenient. You can go for, or you can go for state of the art or state of the science review by showcasing the intellectual structure of human evolution. But if you are taking diplomatic into it, the paper length will be so you just need with journal maps. So you will force to publish it in a Q4 journal. Force. Some of the big Q1 journals do not have volumes. Like also from Willy and Springer, they do not have, but the findings must be very good. The findings. But in that case, either that's true. But what happens in that case, if you have a team working together, then you can go individually doing implementing, then systematic. The paper will take at least 6-7 months. Or 1 month. You are doing individually. You have to read each and every paper, only go read it. So I will discuss. You please either submit a diplomatic paper or a systematic paper. Why 20? integrate or very very easily. Dialysis is not necessary. Not necessary. Better you go for a systematically find out the exact inference of foods. Then so how we works. it will become a heavy database and it will take some time to come on the screen. It's actually it works online. Platform, you can see once you start working on how you do activity. You can see the left side of the collections. Collections means the current papers on which you are working. Let's say we are working on a number of papers like AI, current acquisition, branding and customer guarantee, consumer behavior, diversity and performance. In all these collections, you can see the click on here. Let's say these are my collections, not standardized. You can see these are not standardized. It's a diversity performance or consumer behavior. These are more standardized. See how you insert one particular literature in Mendeley platform. Suppose go to Google Scholar. Digital object identifier. In every research paper, you should search for DOI. In a paper where DOI is not there, I will not consider that paper to be included in the research. DOI is here, you can copy it. You can copy it. Go to Mendeley. Here is R references. Click on there, go to add reference manually, and here there are identifiers. We have copied the DOI number. You can paste it here. The moment you paste it, and you go for search, all of the metadata related to that paper has been retrieved. You can see all the process and automatic data. This is the data print. Now make art entry. So one paper related to AI in business management, a random search. I can enter into my Mendeley platform where I can find the enter in all reference categories. Now, because I am taking a particular research on a field AI in business management, you have to create a core collection. The name will be AI in business management. Now, in AI in business management, there is no paper still enough. But we have got one paper, it is in the all references category. Now you have to keep here. And here there is organize option, organize. And keep on organize, you go to article collection. And in the article collection, here there is AI in business management. Now you add here. And in the left side there is synchronization, syncing. Now it is synced properly. Up to this is what you insert one particular paper in your core collection. Now in your core collection, one paper is there. Similarly, you can collect 50, 60, 100 papers and you can keep in your core collection. Now how you write in papers using this? Suppose I am writing something, let's say, this is the word file, and I want to write something of AI in business management research. Suppose I am writing the word AI importance is gradually becoming central attention in business management scholarship. Now suppose this line I have drawn from that paper. I am just taking an example. Suppose that paper says this. Now how you make the reference? You go to reference. Here entry is already there. How you go to how you log in? Friendly is your word. You go to friendly because in my computer it is already there. The tools are there. Tools. So friendly insert friendly sign from Microsoft Word. So once you click here, your friendly will be automatically logged in your Microsoft Word. But remember, do not use pirated version. Please use original version. That original version will have a set. So here, suppose I have taken that particular paper, is inside and it is taken from that particular paper. You can cite it, click on manually, automatically the manually will open here. You have got this paper. This is the latest one. We have added to the core collection of AI in business management. This is the paper. You can check it once again. Application of artificial intelligence. Already it is seen to my word. Where the synchronization takes place, the synchronization takes place here. If it is not seen, then what you should do? Here there is a synchronization tool. You can see here also. Now this synchronization has been done properly. This particular article we have chosen, and this is the insight from this article. Now we want to cite. You just click here and insert one citation. Automatically the citation is in the paper. Got it? It is already in the format because format I have style here in here. I mean, friendly platform. With friendly platform, it is always updated online. Because without internet, it is not possible. It will complete. The last point I will show. Now, friends, if you want to change the citation style, you can go to entry settings and change the citation style automatically. It will change. Go to entry settings. Here the settings is there. You can go to entry reference manager, file, edit, tools, help, and here you find differences, import account setting and all. So you will find here now how to generate the references. Suppose you want to generate the reference in every format. Now simply go to citation settings. Here there are three dots. Click here, insert bibliography. Click here, continue, and it will got it now. Now you need not to do it manually. This is very comfortable. And once your entire manuscript is ready, it is in in-text citation. This is called in-text citation, and this is called reference. Now all your references are ready in the appropriate UI now. That's the beauty of it. So please use mainly for your references. Even if we write it, but you normally all our papers are already here. There is a piece one. The papers we have already collected. Now we just read papers and cite it. We just read papers and cite it. You can also collect all the hard copy and all the full papers also here. If you click on here, all the details of the paper are authorized. You click here, all the details are authorized. So you can download the full version of the paper, and in the file you choose file, and you can keep the entire paper. This is the paper. Let's open. And now the full paper is ready. Full paper is ready. This is the new paper. From here also you can download. That is how, and at the right place, at the right icon, there is a tick symbol that means the full PDF has been downloaded or has been uploaded. So that's the feature. So mainly not only works for your for reference, it also works as a kind of that library. So all the papers, books, research monographs related to the study are stored here on user consumption. So that's the case. So now all of you will download Mendy and accordingly work on Microsoft Word into Mendy is better than Zotero in many respects. Zotero will have a lot of gaps here. Mendy and Zotero cannot reply to UI files, but Mendy is well synchronized because it is promoted by SDP. Yes.
So, because another two references, I have seen something that has succeeded. For example, the great start. Okay. When you mention the office name, normally you put the here in references. But now you are using many sites. It has changed. Now both the author's name and the PF, they are all different, including it is present. Yes.
You are saying about the reference or you are saying about in-text citation? In in-text citation, you have the liberty to make a customization according to requirement. For example, I am citing a definition. You cannot change it. So within bracket, Sarada Salu, S Salu, comma 2026. That both will be in the bracket. But you are saying only the year will remain in the bracket. Right? Many a time, suppose I am quoting somebody, let's say, Dr. Radhakrishnan, within bracket 2025, has said that or has informed that. In that case, you can go to that index citation entity. What happens normally? You have to see the positioning of that index citation, whether it is in the beginning, or it is in the middle, or it is in the end. If it is in the middle and end, both has to be bracketed or within parentheses. But when it is beginning, both parentheses won't look good. Therefore, it can only parenthesize the year. The feature is put it here. No problem. None of it. Because Mendy has given that flexibility. If Mendy will take it automatically, then what will happen? Your purpose will be solved. Exactly. Therefore, that flexibility. No.
Thank you, sir. It was really a wonderful session. The certificate of honor now I request the president of today's meeting, Professor Dr. Govindakumar Tripathi, sir. And the convener of today's meeting, Professor Dr. Umesh Tripathi, sir, to present the certificate of honor to our guest, Dr. Sadhana Prasad, sir, please. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Now I request everybody to go to the canteen to have lunch.